So Iowa City and Princeton, we know that Di will be there, weather permitting, to both of your inventories. If perhaps she's not there, we wanted to demonstrate exactly what will happen. So you've already seen the video where we have put the labels out. So when Regis arrives, they will look for those labels and they will scan the section. When they finish scanning, they're gonna write on that little slip there. And then we are going to come behind, not before. You never want to do it before them. When you come up to the slip after they've come, Devin's going to tell us what they normally do.
So usually this here where it says unit count, they're going to write how many units that they counted. Some of the auditors will put their initials. That way you know who it was that counted that area. When you see that you've come to an area and there is a number written on it, then that's when you go ahead and start your physical count. What you'll want to do is check your area and see where you need to begin and where you need to stop, and you want to physically count how many items there are. It's not always a good idea to just count hangers, because you want to make sure there's not 2 items on a hanger, that something didn't get unlayered, or something was dropped and shouldn't have been. So I always come and I just start with and I count in my head to myself. So I know there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and then this is all the same area. And I count that I have 27 items. So then the first thing I do is go back to my area ticket. I don't even really usually look specifically at their number first, because I don't want their number in my head. And I also count 27. So I'm going to circle it and I'm going to put my initials stating that I agree with the auditor. If they had put, let's say they put 28 there and I came and I counted only 27, the first thing I'm going to do is recount myself. If I still come up with 27, I'm going to ask one of my coworkers to come over and double check me. If them and I get the same number, which is different than the auditor, I'm going to say, hey, Steve, are you the one that counted this? Please come and recount my area for me. They are the ones that will have to come, rescan it, and recount it until we agree on the number.
Okay, so now we have to remember that the auditors are often not right. They don't care as much as we do if they get it all. And so oftentimes they might argue with you and you have to make them come and rescan the area. You never want them to try to bully you into accepting the number that you think is wrong. It's really important. The other thing that I would like to say is that and we've had this happen before, where maybe the auditor's standing right next to you and they say, are all these the same? And they want to put in our code and the quantity of 4. But please make sure you know and you understand that every size and every color has a completely different barcode. So they are not allowed to put in one barcode and a quantity. They are also not allowed to force something. So as you can see, this is Ruby Road's barcode here. If they scan it, which they could, it could beep at them, notifying them that it's not in the file. They can force it through. We've told them not to, but they could. If you allow them to force and not use the proper barcode, your inventory is going to be completely screwed up and it's really bad. Now, I'm going to have Devin talk about when she's hearing a lot of beeps.
Yes. So sometimes they will scan the wrong barcode, the manufacturer's barcode. You might hear them call out SKU check. If they do, go over to the auditor that did it and they will say, I can't find your SKU. You'll want to direct them to the 4 Seasons ticket and the 4 Seasons barcode. Have them try that again. If it does not scan and they scan this correct ticket, that becomes an item for, you should have an area with your 999, and that's your problem cart, and that's where you'll have to put that on there, and that will come at the end with the Regis supervisor, who will be the one who will have to hand key in your barcode number.
So let's go one more thing. When you finish counting your area, each counter will have their own copy of this inventory unit count sheet. And so you'll find your area that you just counted and you'll record your number, 27. When Devin gets done with the area she's responsible for, she will have this filled in. This is our own independent count of the entire store. When you are ending your inventory and you get to the very, very end, you're going to have all these supplemental sheets together, and you're going to come to your own independent count of every single unit in the store. And that number needs to match Regis's number. So you're basically counting the entire store. They're counting the entire store. You're adding them up, and the goal is to match.
Before we match at the end, Stacy will typically be the leader, and she would have this highlighted copy. We will have our own copies, and we will report our numbers to her so that we all have the same numbers on the sheet. Once she has a column completely filled, she will add it up and total the columns individually as well, so that we know that from area 1 to area 50, how many units are in that area. It makes it a little easier in case you do have a discrepancy. You may say, okay, we match area 1 through 50 in Regis, but there's maybe a discrepancy from 51 to 100. That way you are not having to recount every single area again. You can go back and look and say, oh, 79 was supposed to be 39 and I wrote 93. So sometimes it's literally just human error of writing down the wrong number. But if you add up your columns individually and then of course add up your total together, that makes it easier at the end for you to match. And don't wait till the very end, because then you're wasting time as well when you could be doing it and catching any problems that might occur before you have to match with Regis.